So, you're preparing to go out adventuring, but you can't decide what type of weapon to use. Well, fear not. On today's episode of Nat 1, we'll be taking a look at the different types of melee and ranged weapons in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Hey guys, Ray again. So first, we'll be taking a look at melee weapons for those wanting to get up close and personal with their enemies. There are many subcategories for melee weapons, so we'll start with the first type, one- or two-handed. As the name suggests, this determines how many hands you need to use to wield that particular weapon. However, some weapons have the versatile feature, which means you can wield that weapon with one or two hands. Normally, this will determine your damage output, with two-handing a weapon dealing more damage than just using one hand. Next, we have the different weapon sizes. First off, there's light. These weapons can be dual-wielded, so if you have two light weapons, you can attack with the first light weapon, and use a bonus action to attack with the second light weapon. This also works with thrown weapons as well. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, we have heavy weapons. These weapons are so large and heavy in size that creatures that are in the small size category will have a disadvantage when using them. I mean, let's face it, it's not like you're going to see a halfling effectively using a giant halberd that's twice its size. Lastly, we have weapons that have the reach property. These are more like pole arms and some spears that, when engaged in combat, they can reach up to 10 feet to attack an enemy, rather than the standard 5 feet that most melee weapons have. Let's shift gears from melee to range. First, let's talk about thrown and fired weapons. Thrown weapons are just that, weapons you can hurl towards enemies like a spear or a dagger. Now, some thrown weapons can also be used as a melee weapon, so depending on how you're using that weapon will determine what ability modifier you'll add to said attack. Then there's fired weapons. Those are your bows, crossbows, and even slings that require ammunition such as arrows or bolts. Fired weapons also have a feature called loading, where you'll actually have to take some time to reload your ranged weapon. You can review this on page 147 of the Player's Handbook for a complete list of rules. All of these ranged weapons have what's called a range distance, which is better discussed on page 149 of the handbook. This determines how far you'll be able to shoot or throw that weapon. First you have normal range, which anything under or up to that distance you can fire at with no problems. Next is the maximum range. These shots you're going to have to shoot with at disadvantage. Also, if you happen to be in melee range of a creature while trying to shoot or throw a ranged weapon, you're going to have disadvantage on that rule as well. I mean, it's kind of hard to chuck an axe at someone when you're right next to them and can easily just, swing at them instead. That does it for today's episode, guys. Join us next time as we start to take a look at combat now that you're properly equipped for the battle ahead. See you later.